Hello everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Lettering Crit session. As you might see already, this session it will be a little bit of a different session. It will be kind of a special session, as you saw also in the thumbnail. Today I will be hosting this Lettering Crit session a little bit different. I have Martina here on the top right of my screen. There she is. Feel free to say hi, Martina.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, this is a special session. This is our first remote lettering crit, right? And
Yeah.
Elías is managing everything from the studio, and I'm here in Barcelona with 30 degrees.
Well,
Joining the session from a sunny city.
nice. Yeah, so in the meantime that we explain how this is gonna go and what the Lettering Crit session is, if you're new here, please let us know where you're joining from, which city or which country you're joining from. We always love to know where you're coming from and how diverse our community is. For those who don't know me, my name is Elías Prado. I'm a senior designer here in Studio Martina Flor. I've been working with her like for already 3.5 years or something, and yeah, we tackle everyday projects together. We have been working for so long together, and yes.
Elías is also one of our instructors in our lettering and type design programs as well.
Exactly. I do a lot of stuff, yeah, but also instructor and yeah. And and the Lettering Crit is a session. Some of you might know this session already. Some of you might be new to this session. It's a live session where we give feedback and critique to each other's lettering, right? There's a lot of submissions. We select a few of them. The ones that are like more keen to receive generic feedback that is not only working for these specific cases, but also for generic cases. If you're working on a lettering piece right now and it wasn't selected, probably you will find some tips that will be really useful for you, for your piece and for your work in general, right? So in this Lettering Crit session, we'll be reviewing a total of 4 works, 4 lettering pieces. But we will also have a peek of what it's like inside of our Lettering Academy. At the end of the session, Martina will give you a kind of a run-through through our special offer for the lettering seminar. And yeah, so stay in line, stay tuned, and she will give you some insights in there.
Exactly. Yes. I would like to add something. Simone is asking us to lower my volume. So Elías, perhaps you can touch on that. And then in the meantime, I'm just speaking from farther apart from my microphone. Simone, let us know if the volume is better now. So yes, that's an interesting caveat. So at the end of this session, this is our I would say, public event, and it's an event where we invite other people that are not students in our academy to join the event. And during this event, we not only give feedback to students' projects, but we also bring in one additional project from someone else who is not in our academy, just to get just to understand the amount of value and feedback you can get working with us. And we thought that in this special session, we will give you a run through, or we will show you how it is to work with us inside the academy, so that those that are not students of ours and are wondering whether the lettering seminar is a program for you, then you can get an idea of how it is to join the program and how it is inside and how it looks inside, right? Because it is an online program, it happens online, but there's a lot of perks that make it very intimate, very close, and you really join a community when you join one of our programs. And at the end of this session, I will also show you, or I will also share with you, a promotion that we're offering throughout this summer. For those that want to join the seminar this summer, there's a promotion for you, and I'm gonna show you what it is about, right? So, Elías, back to you.
Yes, let's take it away. So we have no time to lose, so let's just jump into the project that we're going to see. So The first project here that you can see in the screen is coming from Isadora. So this is the lettering piece. I'm gonna just accommodate some things around here so I have a good canvas to work on. Okay. So please feel free to throw some comments on the chat because it's not gonna be only me reviewing this piece. Of course, I'm gonna make a lot of comments on this, but I really need your help to help me critique this piece, right? So yes, as you can see here, the text is Losing My Mind, and there's a lot of, it's a beautiful lettering. It has this like slanted baseline. There's a lot of flourishes going around and giving a lot of packing to the composition. If you have joined the Lettering Create sessions before, you might already know a couple of tips of generic tips on how to better your composition and so on, right? For instance, the first one that comes to my mind is the north, south, west, and east tip, right? This is a common tip that we give in the studio, is that to balance out the spaces of your composition, you need to put the same amount of flourishes or to fill the same amount of space in the north, in the south, in the east, and in the west of your composition, right? So as you can see here, Isadora did this really well. There's a lot of things happening here in the north. There's a lot of things happening here in the south, here in the west, and here in the east, right? All the flourishes are well balanced. But I'm seeing, the first thing that I'm noticing here is that it's a little bit busy in some places, right? Specifically in this sort of situations here below the word mind, and also on the top of the L, kind of the flourishes and the swashes are going too much of a loop there, right? So the first things that I want to do here, for example, is to give you an advice to simplify these swashes, right? I'm gonna take the example of the D here. If we follow all the trip or the journey of the D, it's doing a lot of stuff, right? It's not going also only down here to fill this space, but also up here, right? So I think we can solve this in kind of a more efficient way by modifying these swashes, right? For example, we can, let me lower the opacity of this project so I can draw on top here. We can keep this ending of the D shorter, right? We can just give it a little loop, like a kind of a terminal shape to sort of simplify this shape. And now we have to fill this space, this empty here, space below mind with another swash, right? That can be connected or not connected to a letter shape. And I'm seeing here that we have a wonderful opportunity with the letter Y. Like this swash that is going down from the letter Y is sort of like solving a really small space. And I think it can be like more open and more, going around the piece, right? More efficiently. So I will do something just like this, right? Some like kind of big swash that can solve all the situation here. Martina, you're also welcome to throw some comments here if you feel like.
Yes, that's. I just wanted to add that I think that Isadora is doing a great job at filling up the space. She is really using the flourishes in a way that cover up for the negative space and is creating this harmonious composition, right? And it's really filling, as you said, the space at the north, south, east, west of the composition, right? And I just wanted to just mark or give a remark in terms of how can you create flourishes when you're working on a script lettering? How can you pull those flourishes? Where can you pull those flourishes from, right? Because sometimes we have one letter that is doing all the work, whereas this work can be shared by many other letters, right? So for instance, in the case of the D is doing a lot of work, right? So how can you, I think this is what you're trying to do right now, Elias, is how can you make the work that the D is doing, how can you help the D do that work, right? So one way of doing that is to look for other letters that can do the work, that can do a flourish. And the great opportunities to do flourishing is your your how do you call this,
Descendants.
the ascenders and descenders.
Yeah, I get it.
So using ascenders and descenders to flourish, to create flourishes. So for instance, the Y is a descender, and it's a great opportunity for you to create flourish. You were already, Isadora, doing that with your G. So I think it's a great hint that Elias is giving you here, just to use the Y the same way that you were using the G, right?
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to comment on something that that Isadora was saying on the chat. So Isadora is here with us, and she's watching us critique her work live, and she was mentioning that she created this on Procreate. And I just wanted to make a caveat here that essentially, inside the lettering seminar, we encourage students to digitize their work with vector drawings or with vectors, because we believe that this is the technique that will help you take control over your, or it's the most helpful technique that you can use to draw letter forms. And if you are in our email list, you will also get an invitation to join a training that Elias is doing a couple of weeks from now that is specifically about digital lettering. And essentially what we do, Isadora, in your case, if you ever want to dig into this, I would totally recommend you to switch from what you're doing in Procreate that is already great. I can imagine that if you switch to vector drawing, that will give you a whole new level of detail and polishing of your shapes. So just to keep it in mind that if you're working in Procreate now and you're getting these results, imagine the great results that you can get with a digital drawing. And specifically with this kind of design where you're using very clean lines, very defined lines, I would definitely recommend you to dig into vector drawing. So back to you, Elias.
Yeah, that is a great advice. Definitely, working with vectors will give you like a lot of control over this really precise curves and so on, right? So yeah, that is a great tip. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you, Martina, to pick up some comments in the chat because I'm like here narrowed in Photoshop. If something comes up, you can let me know and I can pick it up here in the canvas. So the next thing that I'm seeing here, for example, I mean, as I told you before, the top of the L is also a little bit of a kind of a messy situation here. It has quite a few loops. And I think we can also simplify this shape by drawing kind of a simpler sort of swash, right? Something that solves the same amount of space, let's say. Let me do this again. Here. Oh, sorry. Something that solves the same amount of space, but does it in a simpler way, right? So the whole composition looks a little bit, a little bit lighter, and it breathes better, right? Maybe you can also kind of like solve the dot of the I with this swash, right? To kind of not only simplify it, but also work more efficient in terms of elements connecting with each other, right? So I think by doing this sort of adjustments, you will kind of let the piece breathe a little bit better and make it look not so messy. And the next thing also that I'm seeing here is that this specific swash before the M is kind of misleading. It looks like an uppercase E. It might look like it if you read it really fast. And readability is also one of the things that we insist a lot in our academy, in the lettering seminar, in the workshops. The main purpose of a lettering piece is to be read, right? And you want to read it right. You want to convey the message right? So, yeah, you should pay attention a lot to what your lettering piece reads like, and to kind of avoid this sort of possible misinterpretations, right? So maybe the swash can be something a little bit simpler, right? Something like you have here in the second M, to kind of avoid anybody from reading Emmy instead of my, right? You can also play a little bit with this M, make it have like different heights on these strokes, right? And don't worry too much about this specific swash filling this space, because when we talk about north, south, west, and east composition, it's not like your whole lettering piece has to be like a round composition, but sort of we're talking about generic spaces, right? So if the whole composition is kind of balanced, you don't really need to worry about like specific swashes, right? Yes.
I'm gonna pick up on Simon's comment on the chat.
Yeah.
You're saying that the text need more white space before hitting the flourishes, and yes, that's true. Sometimes it helps to, whenever you're working with a complex set of flourish or a composition that has a lot of flourishing, it is helpful to just, to have the letters a little bit or a little bit of space between the letters and the flourishes. In this case, I think it's still working. The letter forms are tight, they are readable. You can totally read what it says, and therefore the flourishes are not overpowering the readability of the lettering piece. But it can definitely help, Simon, whenever you are working on a very flourish composition, to separate the flourishes as a way of, making sure that your lettering piece is readable.
Definitely.
So let's move on to the next one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Isadora, good luck with that. It's looking great already.
Yes. So the next project is from Glenda. She's actually one of our students in the lettering seminar, and she uploaded this beautiful chalkboard lettering. And I picked up this project because it was so, I think, composition-wise, it's really beautiful. But also I like the styles that she's using on this. And actually, the styles is one of the things that I want to comment on this piece. So let me just lower the opacity here. And whatever comment that you might have during this critique, please drop it on the chat. The first thing that I want to pick up on here is the style of this Sconti lettering, right? If you see, it's like kind of broken in two pieces, and the first thing that I'm noticing is that it has two different styles, right? I don't know if this was intentional or not. Maybe it was intentional, but it's kind of like messing up a little bit with the the overall style of the word, right? If it's one word, you might want to keep it in one style. To make the whole composition a little bit simpler and kind of more outstanding, right? So for instance, I have here on the left some sort of inverted contrast lettering, and on the right something that looks like a lettering without contrast, right? Like a sans serif without contrast, right? So if you wanted to kind of like follow this style first, then you might want to convert all the pieces to this sort of inverted contrast, right? The end will look something like this. Like making big serifs.
Just adding comment while you draw, because I know that it's very hard to draw and talk.
And speak at the same time, sure.
Yeah, so I'm Glenda, I just want to tell you that whenever the work we do with the students, it's essentially to help them create their best lettering piece, right? And to create a lettering piece that they're proud of and that they can include in their portfolio so that they can start getting paid assignments with that, right? And what I always encourage them to do is to start with the easiest step that they can start with, right? So if you're just starting with lettering, I always recommend them to start simple. First, to reduce the amount of words that they're gonna use for their lettering piece, right? And second, to reduce the amount of styles that you're using, because the more styles, the more complexity, the more knowledge you need to get that lettering piece right. And when I look at this lettering piece, Glenda, you are using all of the things available out there, a lot of different lettering styles, but also a lot of text. And this is going to make it very challenging for you to get it right from the start out, right? So I would definitely recommend you to just keep one bit of this composition, to just keep one bit of this composition or focus on one word and try to get that word right. Once you get that word right, once you create that one lettering piece that you're really proud of, you can move on to lettering pieces with more complexity, with more words, with more styles, right? And this goes for everyone on the chat and on this lettering grid. If you're starting with lettering, try to start simple. Try to get that one piece of lettering right. Use just one, two words. Keep it simple, and you will start seeing progress, right? And the better you get, the more complexity you can add to your lettering pieces.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Thank you for the comment, Martina. Um, yeah, and I was like in the meantime that you were explaining that, I was reading this second word here, drenanti, and I love how now we can kind of link the two styles together. For instance, like this sconti now has this inverted contrast or this big serifs and so on. And here, even though it's a different stylist, it's a script lettering, it also has this like inverted contrast, right? And I just want to give you a couple of comments, and actually one really good tip that I use a lot when I'm doing this kind of lettering is to kind of like draw it with using guidelines to define where your letters are going to, to end and start, and also the height of your inverted contrast. Let me explain. For example, here, I'm just gonna lower the opacity of these guidelines too, so it's not so messy. And here as well. So for instance, here, now I can draw kind of like, let me just, okay, new layer, here. Now I can draw all these letters and keeping a really good consistency between all the contrast and all the thick parts of the letters, right? So also the sender here, this link for the R, going up, this part of the R too. Just doing this really quick so you get the idea. Going down again. So, and this will give you like a lot of consistency in the thickness of your lettering, right? And notice how by doing this, you can also realize that here in the letter E, you missed one thick stroke, right? The one that connects with the N here. So every time you're drawing this sort of inverted contrast script lettering, help yourself with guidelines. And if you're doing this on the sketch or in the digital drawing, you can always remove them and or erase them in any point, right? And we'll recommend also working with guidelines in general, not only when you're working with this kind of pieces. It will give you like a really good hint of where to, place the height of your letters, right? Like for example, if I get rid of these guidelines, you can see kind of the lettering is kind of like jumping in heights, right? Like this has one height, and then this has another height, and also this one here another height, and so on. And if you want this feature to be present in your lettering, then you have to exaggerate it. But if you want to have like a consistent height on your lettering piece, so it's not like too jumpy and so on, I will recommend you to work with guidelines in general, right? So let me highlight these comments again.
Now it's saying very useful advice for consistency. Yes, guidelines are such a great tool that we often oversee. And I think like looking at the entire lettering piece, Glenda, I think you can use the hint of guidelines everywhere in every other word that you're using on that lettering piece. I think guidelines definitely help you achieve consistency. It's like the step number one to achieve consistency in your lettering. And if you look at words like tutti or prendi or paghi, you can clearly see that there's, those guidelines are missing there, right? And they can really bring a lot of consistency and also a lot of structure into your lettering. And look at I just wanted to go back to what you were commenting on the inverted contrast script lettering right there. So I just want to make a point here on look how just by focusing on one word, in one style, you have so much to dig into. You have so much to refine. You have so much to learn and improve, right? So imagine that multiplied by all the different styles that you're using and all the different words that you're using. So this will take a long time. And also, there is the risk that you will lose motivation in between, that you will lose that motivation of like getting this lettering piece done. So that's why I always encourage all students to start small, to focus on one word, two words, and try to get those right. Because the less words and styles, the less work and the more opportunity there is for you to get that one lettering piece looking stunning. And once you have that one lettering piece that looks stunning, you start believing in your skills and you start believing in how much you can progress by doing the next one, right? So this is why I am so passionate about keeping it simple in the very beginning. And this goes for everyone here in the session. And for you, Glenda, as well. Look how much you can get and you can learn from just one word of the lettering piece you're working on right now. So I would recommend you from now on to just take one piece of that lettering piece you're working on and try to get that right. Try to focus on that and get it to the higher level that you can get it, right?
Definitely. Yeah. Um, yes, I think we should move on to the next one. The next one is
Amazing.
Project by
Glenda, we're looking
Laura.
forward to
Yeah.
see. We are looking forward to see how that looks at the end. Please share that with us in our private community.
Yes, do that. We always love to see how projects develop, especially after lettering critic sessions. We have seen like a project that really took off after these critiques. That's why it's so important to receive feedbacks from peers, right?
Yes.
Okay, so next up we have Laura. She's also a student in our community and in the lettering seminar. And actually, this is not the first version of this sketch that I see. I have seen this sketch, how it has been developing over time. And if I'm not wrong, this is actually a digital piece. So we can see already here that Laura not only like stopped in the sketching part of her lettering, but also she digitized it using vectors, right, on Illustrator or any other vectorial program, right? I recommend this a lot because now you can, if you work intelligently with Illustrator or with vectors in general, you can make your piece like really editable. If I'm not wrong, I remember that we recommended Laura to keep all these little details of her lettering. Oh, sorry. Let me just hide this. Okay. We recommended her to keep all of these spikes coming out of her lettering separate in the lettering piece. So whenever she didn't want to work with this thing, she can just get rid of all of these spikes at once and not having to kind of like erase each of them manually or and so on, right?
Oh, yes.
That's one of like
Yes,
really
I just want
Yes,
to
sir.
make a point there that these are really time-saving hints that we give inside the lettering seminar. That these are things that don't come naturally when you're just starting, or even when you have been doing lettering for a while. These are really hints that come from having done thousands of lettering pieces in this 12 years that I personally been doing lettering, and Elías have been also helping me with the work in the studio. So these are the technical advice that we give inside the seminar is really useful, and it really has helped. For instance, in this case of Laura, it really has helped her draw better and get a better result with her vector drawing, because it has simplified the way she was laying down the groundwork for that digital lettering piece.
Definitely, definitely. And another of the advices that we gave her to draw this piece digitally was to digitize every letter separately, right? So that means that when you're digitizing, for example, this L, you will start, for example, here, and you will stop here, right? So the L is really like a completely different element than the E here, or this next E, and this stroke of the P, and this loop of the P, and so on. So when you're working digitally, this is one of the things that we also insist a lot, not only in the lettering seminar, but also in the digital lettering masterclass and the stunning lettering workshop and so on, is that treat your letters or digitize your letters, and not only your letters, but also all of the elements of your letters separately. So you can edit them, erase them, move them around easier when you're working with vectors, right? And for instance, I have a comment here in this sort of like triple loop, which is composing this lettering sleeping, right? For instance, the first thing that I notice here is that we can actually get rid of this stroke between the S and the L, because the S is not really connected with the L, right? Like it doesn't serve any purpose in this lettering, right? And speaking also about connections, when we're digitizing an E, for example, and we have this connection between the L and the E, I really like to break it off. I don't know about you, Martina. I think we are kind of on the same page here. Is that the connection goes until kind of a higher point, and from here you start digitizing the loop of the E, right? Let me just lower the opacity here so we can see it like clearer. Go back to that here. And from here you can do the downstroke of the E, right? You can make it thicker here, a little bit here as well. So you have this sort of situation in both of these actually. So here and here. Now this kind of eye of the E is not looking so slanted or so stretched, right? This loop of the E here, the eye of the E is looking a little bit more circular, it's cuter, it's kind of like more balanced with the empty spaces between the E, right? So I will really recommend you to treat your E's in this way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. What that also creates is that it creates a consistency in the little triangular shape that is created below the letter.
Oh,
Perhaps,
definitely.
Elias, you
Here.
can draw it. So you can see this triangular shape repeats all over the place throughout the entire script lettering, because the connections are hitting the next letter at the same exact height, right? And this is what you want to create consistency between your letters. And especially when it comes to script lettering, you will want your connection to hit the next letter on the same height, right?
Yeah.
I just want to go back to what you mentioned before, these connections that don't connect with anything. So something that is typical of script lettering, or a characteristic of script lettering, is essentially that it comes from handwriting, and that means that all letters are connected. So one letter leads to the next one in one fluent movement, right? And whenever, because the letters are connected, it happens often that lettering artists just add connections where there's no need for connection. So when you're working with script lettering, you will add connections whenever you need a connection. But if there's no connection there, you just don't need to add the connection. So for instance, between the P and the I, if P is not connecting with I, you just don't need that connection right there. Unless you make a loop between the P and the I, and then you can just connect those letters. Can you see that? Elias, you're just reading my mind. I mean, you're drawing exactly what I'm saying. So, and if you go down to the letter E in beauty, you can see the same pattern. So there's a connection there where there's no real connection coming from the B, unless the B is really looping into the E, then it makes sense to have that connection over there, right? But if there's no connection, you don't need to add the connection just because you're working with script lettering. I want to pick up on some of the comments on the chat, because what I love about these lettering grid sessions is that, or I would say that what I love about the lettering seminar is that our students become teachers, and they do that every day in our community. They comment on each other's project, and they really train their own eye by just looking at someone else's work, having that distance from their, from their own work, and they're able to give very valuable comments to someone else's project. And here on the lettering grid, we do that live, and we do that on our chat. And what I love about these sessions is that we are basically here to pick up whatever you comment on. And of course, we are adding some comments that come from our side, but you are the ones that become instructors. And this is all we want for our students, that you will gain the confidence, the knowledge, the skill set to really guide your own work and to guide someone else's work. So some of our students have become teachers themselves, and I love that. So let me just pick up on something on the chat. So so now is asking, what do you think about the how tall the L is?
Oh, let me see.
Lachu is commenting on the spacing between ping. I love that. We are going to pick up on that, Lachu. Yes, if whenever I look at the spacing or I try to work on the consistency of a spacing on a lettering piece, I always try to find the letters that group. And let me explain this concept to you. So if you look at the word sleeping, you will notice that SLEE, they have a certain rhythm that is not the same that the rhythm that PING have, right? PING, they are farther apart, whereas SLEE, they are closer together. Can you see that? Write on the chat if you can see that. So this happens often when you're working on a lettering piece, and specifically when you're working on a word, that there's some letters that will come together and some letters that will be farther apart. So what you will want is to bring all into the same exact rhythm. And I'm not speaking about mathematical rhythm. Is not something you can measure, but it's something that you can see. And I think, Lachu, you were mentioning and you were noticing already that PING, they're farther apart. They are following a different rhythm than the rest of the word. And Laura, this is your lettering piece, so you will want this to have a consistent rhythm, right? Let me just pick on another comment here. So Damiano is commenting on the letter B. Yes, I agree that it's a beautiful one. Maybe could be taller.
L maybe
in
could
order
be taller,
to close.
I think. L maybe could be taller. I mean, in order to close a bit better of
L
the space
maybe
between.
oh, I get it. Yeah. Yes, yeah, that's a good idea. L could be taller, actually. Yes, if you look at the T and you look at the L, definitely either the T should be shorter or the L should be taller, or both. So you will normally want your T to be either the same height or shorter than your L. And in this case, the T is longer than the L, which is really unusual. Yes. So there's something there to work on. I also see some opportunities for loopings and flourishing. For instance, when I see, whenever I create flourishes around my lettering, I try to, as I said before, to pull them naturally out of the letter forms. And when I look at, for instance, the letter B, right, and I see this flourish that is right below the B, I can totally see, Laura, why did you add that flourish right there? Is covering up that space, is balancing the composition. So that's a clever move. What I wonder is whether if you need to add that flourish as an attachment to your letter, or that flourish could be really a loop that is coming out of your B. So if you look at the
like this, right?
Exactly, yes. So whenever you need to add a flourish as an add-on or as an attachment, always wonder in which ways you can do it naturally, or is there a more organic way to do this? Is there any letter that can help me create this flourish? Is there any loop that I can do in that letter so that I can create that flourish, right? So I think that the B definitely calls for a loop or something that really where this flourish is growing out of that letter form.
Definitely. Yeah, that is a great tip, actually. Yes. Like I said, I see that it also
What else,
happens.
Elias?
I see that it also happens
Yes.
in this sort of situation here in the flourishes that are coming out of the G, right? It has kind of a bifurcation as well. And
Yes.
yes, also this loop here can be a little bit simpler. Like I doubt that you really need that sort of like edge here and make it kind of like a simpler shape so it's more harmonious as well, right? Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
I
think
love
that
it, Laura. I'm looking forward to see how that progresses and share it with us on the community. And if you need more feedback on specific things, you can always ask. You know that. Let's
great.
move on to the next one.
Yes, let's. So we have this last lettering piece from Raven. I love this lettering piece. Personally, I really like this style. I love English script or this like super high contrast script lettering. And you see that it's also really well balanced. It has a lot of things happening here in the north and also in the south of the lettering piece, right? And these both situations and so on. And the first thing that I notice when I see this piece actually is that the contrast or the thick parts in the swashes are kind of like placed a little bit randomly, or I'm not really understanding what kind of criteria did Raven follow to place these thick parts on the swashes, right? And I think like at this point, you have more than one way to go, let's say, but the one way to go is always to be consistent, right? If you're gonna place some weights on your swashes, then you have to follow kind of a logic or kind of a system behind it. For example, when you're placing the thick parts on your lettering, you're placing, as many of you might know already, and if you don't know, this is a great thing to know if you're interested in lettering, all of the thick parts of your letters are kind of the ones that are going down when you write them, right? So if you're drawing the L like this, you have the first stroke is coming down, and that's gonna be the thick part, right? And this one that goes up is going in a thin stroke. And then this O will also have this like thick stroke on the one that is going down, right? So following that
Just to give a
criteria,
little bit of
yeah,
background information on that one. Sorry, Elias, that I
yeah,
interrupt.
sure.
This criteria actually comes. It's not something that we are making up or that we just like it this way. This criteria is actually coming from the calligraphic origin of our letter shapes, right? So the calligraphy is really the mother of letter shapes, and we use calligraphy, specifically in the lettering seminar, a lot to inform the shape of our letters. And what Elias is showing right now is something that responds to a calligraphic principle that we study inside the lettering seminar. And it really helps you and everyone, every student of ours, get the contrast and the weight of their letters right. This is something that we see often in lettering artists or in beginners, that they struggle with, where do I place the weight of my letters? How do I find consistency in my letter shapes? And inside the lettering seminar, we really cover the calligraphic origin of the letter forms, and this really clicks in our students in order to achieve that that level of consistency, but also to understand where should they place the weight of their letter forms, right? So what Elias is explaining now is one of the calligraphic principles we see inside the seminar.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Martina, for clarifying. So what I meant is that we can also kind of use that principle when you're drawing the swatches, right? When you pull out this swatch from the K that is wonderfully pulled out, the first stroke that you have here, apart from the loop, is going down, right? It's going in this direction when you draw it. So you have like a beautiful chance there to add some weight in this swash right here, or this stroke of the swash, right? And when you're going up, you leave it thin, and then you're going to go thick. I mean, you're going to go down again here. So you have another opportunity to start adding weight in this stroke, right? So you have a system that in the back of your head, it will make sense because you already see it in the letters, right? And you will know for sure, 100%, that all of the thick parts on your flourishes are placed in the right position, right? By following this principle, for example, this thick part of the swash will have to go away, and you will have to keep this part as a single stroke, like a thin stroke, and make this part maybe a little bit thicker, right? So I recommend you to work, in this case, with this sort of principles that will give you a lot of consistent and a lot of, it will pack the whole piece together, right? Because you're following the same principle in your letters and also in your swashes, right? Yes, and the next thing that I'm seeing here, I mean, please let me know if there's anything else that you're seeing yourself. Please type it in the chat. But another thing that I'm seeing here is this top swash. It's going a little bit out of the lettering piece. It's going kind of away. Again, I don't know if this was intentional or not. But we have like a great tip. It's one of my favorite tips that we give in the lettering seminar or here in the lettering crit sessions and so on, is that swashes are looking better when they are coming back to the piece, right? And you will notice that you have, Raven, you have done this already here in your lettering piece, in this swash here on the bottom, and also in this swash here. They're kind of like intricate and going back to the lettering piece, right? But this swash that is going on the top is kind of going away. It's kind of like in a different direction. So I will just recommend it to end it closer, right? Like to the lettering piece. And this will kind of like pack the whole lettering piece together and make it look more harmonious and balanced out, right?
So Raven is on the chat and she's looking at at her lettering piece as we give feedback on it. And the question is for adding weights, which is great, actually. It's a great question. So Raven, I hope you have gone through I think unit number 5 or no, sorry, unit number 4, where we go through all the calligraphic principles that can really help you. I think if you go through that unit again, you would totally understand how to proceed with the weight of your lettering piece. Now, going to your question, you're asking for adding weight on flourishes, how should I determine the amount of weight on each stroke? So the letter forms are still the star of the composition. That's it. Super great question. And I definitely have an answer for that. What we normally do when we do work in the studio is that we treat the flourishes with a little bit less weight than the letter forms. And there's an actual reason for that is based on the calligraphic principle. So when you are writing, you will, the movement of your hand will be slower, and therefore you will be able to apply more pressure. And when you apply more pressure, if you have gone through the unit 4, where we cover the calligraphic principles on the lettering seminar, when you apply more pressure, the weight of your strokes will be thicker. So that is what will happen with your letter forms. Now, as you move on to creating the flourishes, the movement of the hand will be looser and faster, and therefore the pressure you will be applying on that tool will be lower. And this is why your flourishes will tend to be lighter than the weight of your letter form. So I hope that answered your questions. And I can also tell you, like, hey, I normally like to make my flourishes lighter than my letter forms, but actually it has a reason that takes you back to the calligraphic principle that we are talking about, right? And when you find a reasoning that it really that really has an empirical way of proving that, like I was just saying with the pressure and writing and stuff, then it's really easy to pick up on that. It's really easy to remember that. It's really easy to use on your work, because if I just give you the way I do it, then you will say like, okay, I have to write that down somewhere and I have to remember that. But if you always go back to that principle that you learned in the lettering seminar, then it will click and it will make sense for you over and over and over again. So I hope I answered your question, Raven, and I hope it makes sense.
Definitely. I just want to pick up on a little comment, of Damiano, who says connection between the V and the E, I suppose. And he's so right. This connection between the V and the E, this connection is happening here. And if you're writing like this V and connected with the E naturally, this connection will happen in the same place that this loop of the E is starting, right? So you want to kind of like connect these two letters like this, right? And
Absolutely. Well
so
spotted.
that was a really good comment from Damiano.
Okay,
Yes.
Raven. So Raven is saying that, okay, I was trying to construct a berry shape with the flourishes. Maybe I should just teach the idea and make the composition better. So a berry shape. Okay. So I guess eloquent
Ah,
means
I
berry
see it now.
in some language. Let me know about this. But yes, I think that sometimes I would say sometimes we try to tell too many stories in one lettering. And I think that already the kind of style that you're using, the kind of composition you are using is telling, I mean, this is something for you to decide. But my question is, do you need to additionally tell the story of recreating the berry, or is it enough for you to just create this lettering with this style, with this composition, right? So this is for you to think about and to see if you really want to recreate the berry and it really makes sense with the project that you're trying to achieve here, then go for it and let us see that berry. I want to clearly see that this is a berry, right? But if the shape of a berry is not serving for your storytelling, then sometimes we just make it like we overcomplicate it and we want to have the berry and the script lettering and the high contrast and the style of that designer. And, it's like we put too many things into one lettering piece, and perhaps just one idea is enough, right? So Raven, I hope that was useful.
Definitely.
Just let me pick up on some last comment so that we wrap it up with the feedback. Damiano is saying maybe the last letters, they could have more slant. They have more slant than the first ones. Yeah, that's a good comment. I think we can, this T and N definitely. I would say that it seems that as you get more comfortable with the drawing, it becomes more a little bit more wild, and that's totally fine. I think you start very very controlled in the towards the first half of your lettering, which is super common, and then you become really loose and you start getting the idea and understanding how your lettering works. So towards the end of your work, it becomes more organic and more dynamic, right? So perhaps you can go back to the first half of your lettering piece and then add some more of that flavor that you achieve on the back of your lettering piece onto the front.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, is there anything else you want to add?
Just last little comment, this extra bonus comment. I think these swashes and these letters are screaming for an ending stroke. I see here that you did this in the end of the T, and I think this could really benefit of having more consistent ending strokes. Whatever you want, if it's rounded, if it's sharp, and so on. But I think this is a great way to wrap it up. To wrap up all the strokes of your lettering piece, right? To have them more balanced out and also more consistent throughout the lettering piece. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So that your ending strokes don't really disappear on the white paper, but they really have a weight and a presence, right?
Definitely. And yeah, I think we are ready. We have been seeing some projects together. We loved all the comments that you dropped on the chat. And now it comes to like a really interesting part where Martina will take over and will show you what's special about this lettering kit is, right? So Martina,
Exactly.
take
So
it away.
what we've been essentially doing in this lettering grid is to show you a little bit what is the process that we that we follow inside the lettering seminar. So as I said before, our students become teachers, and we really nurture each one of the students that come into the lettering seminar. So you haven't heard about the lettering seminar. As I said before, this is a public event that we host for our students, but we also invite other people just for them to get an idea of how the lettering seminar is and looks like. And today we're opening a new enrollment window for those that want to join the lettering seminar. We are opening this enrollment window until next Friday. So 4 days from now. And we are welcoming a new set of students to work with them throughout the next months, right? So I want to walk you through the lettering seminar and show you a little bit how the lettering seminar is and looks like. And for those that are already in the lettering seminar and that joined this lettering creed today, you can either decide to stay in and chime in, and I would love to hear what you think about the different features of the lettering seminar, so that others that are watching this lettering creed and are not in our community yet, they can get an idea of how it is to be one of our students. So today we are opening a new enrollment window during this summer for new students to join the lettering seminar. When you join the lettering seminar, you essentially join our online trainings, which are listed here. You have lifetime access to the lettering seminar materials, which is a set of pre-recording trainings that you can go back to over and over. As I was just saying to Laura, I was just saying, hey, go back to Unit 4, rewatch those lessons, and you will get a lot of information from that after this lettering creed, right? So it's really great that you can always go back to the material, that you never miss out on those specific lessons, and that you have that information with you throughout the rest of, your career or work as a lettering artist. Then you will access studio hour calls with me and Elias. So every month we get together, all students get together on a studio hour call, and we go through questions and comments and roadblocks that you might be experiencing throughout the seminar. So in the seminar, we'll be helping you create your best lettering piece, and we do that through the trainings. So the lettering seminar pre-recorded lessons, we do it in the studio hours, we do it through these live critiques, we do it through our inspiration library, which you also get access to when you come into the lettering seminar. We provide you with other additional trainings like the Tidy Artist mini course, the Freelance Artist Pro training, and you have access to our student community, which is is like the thing of the lettering seminar. The student community is where a lot of things happen, where we give comments to each other, where Elias and I give you feedback every day, where your peers give you feedback every day. This is the place where, as I told you before, where our students become teachers, and they really train and put into action whatever they have learned through all of the trainings they have access to. And the community is something that works 24/7, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You will always have access to the community. You will always get an answer from us, whenever you need it, wherever you are, right? So besides having access for those that sign up in this enrollment window, you will have access to all of these trainings. So you can sign up for one payment of $745 or 6 installments of $149. When you sign up during this enrollment window that we are opening this summer, you also get a bonus training, which is our digital lettering masterclass, which is essential for you to learn how to digitize or vectorize your lettering pieces. I was mentioning throughout the lettering creed that, if you're working in Procreate, that's great, and you can get to a really good level of work with Procreate. But there's a limit to what you can achieve with Procreate. There's a moment where you need to get onto a vector drawing, and this is what you will learn in the digital lettering masterclass. Every professional lettering artist that you see out there is working on vector-based drawing, and there's a reason for that. And in this training, you will learn how to tackle a digital drawing and how to really take your drawings and your lettering to the next level. For those that enroll throughout the next enrollment window, you will get a mystery bonus that you will get per email. So check out your inbox, because you will get an invitation from us to join the lettering seminar, and we will let you know what this mystery bonus is about. And for those that enroll within the next 24 hours, so if you're decided already to join the lettering seminar and you have been waiting for this opportunity, if you enroll within the next 24 hours, you will get the mockups that we use for our portfolio, for my online portfolio, and you will get them for free. So for those that enroll in the next 24 hours, I will give you the set of mockups that I have used throughout the last 10 years to showcase my projects on my portfolio and get paid client assignments. So what else is there? Is it there for the lettering seminar? So I want to tell you what happens when you sign up, because you might be wondering, like, okay, this is an online course, and I have bought a lot of different online courses in lettering because I want to be really good at lettering, and I want to really get good at it. But I have bought online courses, and suddenly I sign up and no one shows up. I'm totally alone there. I don't get any feedback whatsoever. I cannot answer, I have doubts and questions and roadblocks, and I have no one to go to when I'm experiencing those. So when you sign up, you will be welcomed by myself and my team. Elías, Carla is our community manager, and she's there every day, talking to our students, solving any issues that they may have. Elías and I are giving feedback to our students every day and throughout the studio hours. So that's one thing. You will be welcomed by us. Then you will access all the trainings, and the trainings are really these pre-recorded lessons that I talked to you about, where you really can go back to at any time, right? So you have lifetime access to this content. And I want you to see the length of this lesson, because these are lessons that are not 30 minutes lessons where you're like, oh my God, please make it sub. These are really bite-sized lessons where we have streamlined the process of really learning the fundamentals about lettering in a very streamlined way. So we have really picked up on the information that you need to get to accelerate your progress with lettering. And this is exactly what I was mentioning in that lesson that what Elías was showing is exactly what I was mentioning before about our calligraphic or unit where we speak about the calligraphic principles. So yes, that's one thing. Then normally you will consume some of the content and you will join a studio hour. In the studio hours look like this. This is not a place where you go to a studio hour and there's 200 other students and you will never get to ask your questions. You will never get to talk. This is really a conversation between peers, and I am there, Elías is there. And sometimes we provide additional content. Sometimes we answer your questions. Sometimes we give feedback to some project. So these are really studio hours where you get to talk to me, to talk to Elías, to really advance your progress with lettering. Then there is our student community, and our student community is freaking awesome. Elías, what can you say about the student community? Perhaps you can tell a little bit about your experience and what is the work that we do there?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this community. It's great. It's great to have our own platform where we are kind of like isolated from any other distraction, and we are really collaborative with each other's work, right? Every time one of the students, one of the member of the community drops like a sketch, we always chime in and we give like wonderful critique and wonderful specific comments that will make the lettering piece take a whole new level. That is not only like just providing kind of like technical tips, but is essentially, and I think this kind of it might be kind of the most important part of the community. It gives you a lot of confidence in what you're doing, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
you're pretty sure that your lettering is like stepping up, and that eventually, if you work on it and you keep on working on your pieces and so on, these are portfolio worth lettering pieces, right? That can attract paid commissions, and you can actually make a living with what you do. So I think like the community is kind of like the engine that keeps all the content of the academy kind of like rolling and sort of keeping the whole thing like super interactive and and positive through our community, right? Through our academy. Yeah.
Yes, and I think we there's something very or we put a lot of focus in our community, and this is one of the reasons why we have doubled down on the community and created our own private platform, is because we believe in the power that a community can have and the impact that our community can have on our students. Because joining a community where everyone is pulling in the same direction, where you get to talk to future lettering masters, where you get to talk to other, or you are hanging around with other people that are on your same journey and that really want to get better at lettering, makes you want to get better at what you're doing. So it really level ups everyone's game. And it's not, I'm not talking about competition here and seeing who's doing it better, but it's really everyone is cheering for each other. And because this student is doing great and this other student is doing great, I want to do great. And I think this is the feedback that we have gotten from many students, that, you know, looking at how other students are working and are making their best, it makes them want to be and perform their best, and they do. So I really believe in the community, and I think it's one of the greatest values of our programs. There's also the Lettering Creeds, which are our public events, and a private event which is called Lettering Pal, where we essentially our community manager Kala hosts these sessions, and essentially we get together to work. And this has been also very important for our students, because I think something that our students, or in general, everyone out there, and I bet that some of you here in this session struggle with, is that sometimes you just don't find the time to do the work and to sit down and create some lettering. And these Lettering Pal sessions act as accountability sessions where you really sit down and you focus on one lettering piece at a time. And this has been really fundamental for our students to increase their output and also to create more lettering pieces that they can include in their portfolio. So I just want you to show you some examples of students that have gone through the program. And for those that are already interested in joining the lettering seminar, you can go to thelletteringseminar.com/TLS, stands for the Lettering Seminar Summer. This is where you will be able to access the promotion that we are running for those that sign up in the next enrollment period, right? And let me go back to Joki testimonial here. Joki joined our lettering seminar. She is a lettering artist in the Netherlands, and she was doing client work for local clients, and she was doing essentially chalkboard work and mural work. And after joining the lettering seminar, she has reformatted her own communication. She has really created new lettering pieces for her portfolio, and she is now starting to get assignments that have to do with logotype design, because she has acquired this new knowledge in vector drawing, and she can really polish a lettering piece enough to get it to a logotype design level. So by joining the lettering seminar and through all the techniques and frameworks that she learned throughout the program, she has really not only improved her output as a lettering artist, but also improved the quality of the assignments that she's attracting, and also the paid assignments that she's attracting. So Joki is one of our favorite students, and she was also featured on my podcast. So you can just go check it out. So Sonia also joined the lettering seminar last year, And she says that I feel the course has every phase needed to create a lettering piece you feel proud of, totally. And this is what we do in the lettering seminar. We really cover on all the fundamentals, all the techniques, all the frameworks that you need to really step up your work or your game as a lettering artist and to create your best lettering piece yet. I can confidently say that every student that have gone through the lettering seminar have created their best lettering piece yet. And this is thanks to the information they have acquired, or the frameworks and the fundamentals that they have learned in the lettering seminar, but also because our community really makes you step up your game. And I think Elias and I do also a great work in terms of really pushing your limits as a lettering artist. So we have a guarantee for this course. So if you join the course and you feel this is not for you, we send you a full refund, and you have 100 days to just try the course and say, hey, this is not for me. You get in touch and we send you a refund. So as I said before, for those that join the lettering seminar, you have the opportunity to join until next Friday. You have access to the trainings lifetime. You have access to our studio hours, to our student community, of course, and you have these extra bonuses that you will get when you sign up in this registration window. First, the digital lettering masterclass, which is amazing and it's really essential for you to learn how to vectorize your drawings, and additional trainings that you will find out, or this mystery bonus that you will find out as we send you an email right after this session. So you can join by with one payment of $745, or you can pay in 6 installments of $149. So you can go to thelletteringseminar.com/TLS summer. TLS stands for the Lettering Seminar Summer. So if you have any comments or questions, you can drop them on the chat. You can always contact us to ask any questions about our programs to academy@martinaflor.com. So Latri is saying, I am waiting for my lettering piece. What do you mean? So Lachu, did you submit? Probably Lachu submitted a lettering piece. And during the lettering creeds, we get the time to cover some of the lettering pieces. And for those that didn't get their piece selected in this lettering creed, we will definitely give you feedback on the community, as we always do. These lettering creeds are essentially events where we bring you online, and we really want our students to show their work, because we believe that this is also the first step for them to really show up and show their first lettering pieces out there in the wild, right? So for those that didn't get their lettering piece selected for this session, you can definitely join the next session or drop it on the community, and we will get the feedback right back to you. And for those that decide to join the lettering seminar in this registration window, we are here waiting for you with our arms open, and we are really looking forward to welcome you in our community. So thank you everybody for joining today's lettering creed. Elias, do you have something to add?
Nothing, but thank you for joining. Thank you, Martina, for helping me out today to give this feedback to the wonderful pieces submitted. And for those of you who are going to join in the lettering seminar, I will see you in the studio calls or in the community. And we can get super nerdy and deep into giving feedback to each other and cheer each other on our lettering journey. That's it.
Amazing. So thank you everybody for joining, and see you on the next lettering creed, and see you on the next studio hours for those that are in the lettering seminar already. And if you decide to join us in the lettering seminar, then we will see you on the next studio hour as well. So goodbye everybody. Have a nice day.
See you everybody.
Bye bye.
Ciao.